All right. Welcome on in to another action-packed and live edition of the Between the Hash Marks podcast. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, joined by my friend, colleague, mentor, and the purveyor of the Two Deep Zone. Mike Tanier is here on a post-Thanksgiving NFL playoff picture coming into focus extravaganza. Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I've started the Christmas shopping, the holiday shopping, and I have a little conundrum. Of course, it's spouse related.
Okay.
Okay, so
I might be able to help you out here. I might be able to lend you an assist.
I don't know. Okay, so this time my wife really grooved it in. She says, "I know what I know what I want. I know I want you to get me." She wants an iron, but it's a specific type of iron. Now, right off the bat, this feels like something from the Honeymooners, where you're getting your wife an iron like it's 1958.
That's a trap. This is a trap if I ever heard one. This is almost as bad as, oh no, I don't want Christmas gifts this year. Let's not do Christmas gifts. This is like butting up to the line of that trap, but not going over. But continue.
Right. The domestic household good. That's a problem. So we start with that, and then it's like, well, it's a very specific type of iron. You know, it's used for like crafting and quilting, like you're doing custom things, like you're making costumes and stuff like that. So I go online, and there are 375 variations of this particular item, none of which say exactly the thing that she wants. And now I respect it because sometimes I'll say, hey, can you run by like Severino's or one of our little Italian goods stores, get a pound of salami? And she'll walk in and she'll look at all the lunch meats, all the Italian specialty meats, and have a panic attack and call me and say, I have no idea what you want. I have no idea what you want. That's me right now looking at these irons.
And you can't go to her and ask because she's going to say, hey, dumbass, I gave you the list. Like, I gave you what it's called. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it ruins the surprise if there is such a thing.
Right. I've already gotten it's a little iron. It's a little iron that you use for crafting. Well, there's nothing officially called the little iron used for crafting. I know I'm being a little obtuse when I'm asking that level, but everything has a combination of those words and syllables and descriptors, but something else. And did I mention that the prices range from about $9.75 to $349.50 or whatever? So you've got to square that circle where it's like, you bought me a cheap piece of crap, like I'm nobody. And that was really over extravagant. It has more features than I want. And it wasn't the thing I want. So I'm already there. It's December 2nd. It's Aaron Rodgers' birthday.
42? 42 today, I believe.
Happy Aaron Rodgers' birthday to those of you like Ian O'Connor who celebrate. But like, I'm already in this conundrum. Is it going all right for you?
I think what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to put a Substack note out there with like the two different types of irons that you're considering and figure out like which is the right iron. And maybe elicit some feedback from the viewers of the show to understand why you're randomly posting about crafting irons and see which one that you should get.
From our 94% middle-aged male viewership, I'm sure I'll get lots of ironing. Not to be stereotypical, I'm guessing not many of you out there are like, oh yeah, I've got real ideas.
They might have got one for the wife. They might have got one for the wife or their mother. They might have some sort of experience here.
Right, and I would say they're in the same boat I'm in there, but maybe they got one 2 years ago and like, this was the one. I might send the sons on a mission to get the information and report back to me. Which again is nothing like a 1950s sitcom. So nothing like a Leave It to Beaver thing where Eddie Haskell's asking June what kind of iron she likes. Nothing like that.
I'm going to need a front row seat to this. One of these years, we're going to have to do Christmas Eve at the Tanier house or the Lombardo house. Get all the pastas out there and a gift like this. I need to see the reaction when she opens up this gift on Christmas or Christmas Eve.
Well, I ordered one, so cross your fingers. Cross your fingers that I got the right one.
I'll cross them all right here.
Like the good husband I am, I gave her no guidance whatsoever. So she is on her own. So we talk like this, and it's like she's out there trying to guess, like, well, what video games hasn't he purchased for himself yet? So now that I say this, I'll give her a chance. Like, why don't you get me that sweatshirt, that one right there?
There you go. Like give her the printout and everything. And, we have a fun show. It's a fun time of year, obviously. And I debuted the Lombardo Power 10 rankings for the first time in the column.
You sure did.
I spoke to executives about the teams that lost the Thanksgiving and Black Friday games and how they're going to
Mhm.
fix them. Walkthrough was as entertaining and informative as ever. Especially, I see that you turned the corner on the Packers playmakers. It's no longer Droptavian Wicks. I got that memo. So we're going to get into all that and a whole lot more. But before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. If you enjoyed Mike's brand of fire burning storytelling, the blending of dad jokes, deep analytics dives, subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. It's mandatory reading, especially walkthrough on Mondays, the stat packs, the tank watches, all of it. If you enjoy my reporting and my analysis, subscribe to Between the Hashmarks on Substack, subscribe to Between the Hashmarks podcast on Apple Podcasts. Leave us those 5-star reviews and ratings. They really do help grow the show. We read them when they come in on the air. And you can check us out on YouTube at Matt Lombardo 975. And I think that covers the housekeeping. But one of the things that jumped out from not just the Friday game, but the weekend, there are some really miserable, just obtuse and upset and angry and deranged
Yeah.
fan bases right now.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, to a degree, Eagles fans, there's a little bit of derangement going on there. The 2-game losing streak has been very bad, but folks are ready to grab the pitchforks and knock over cars. I think there's a little bit of that going on in Detroit right now. There's a couple places like that.
Eagles fans egged Kevin Patullo's house, and these morons videotaped it. They videotaped themselves egging Kevin Patullo's house. You can't do that. Like that's crossing about 5 different lines before you get to the neighborhood. Throw the egg
Yes.
and video yourself doing it. I mean, what are we
Yeah.
talking about here? Forget how like completely disrespectful and borderline illegal something like that is.
Well,
They just
yeah.
won the Super Bowl like 9 months ago.
Right. That's a violation of a million things there. And we cannot even begin to decry that kind of behavior. But then there's being angry and shouting and calling us or WIP or whatever and going nuts. That's fine, but it's a little carried away. Because when I look at the Eagles situation or Ravens situation up until Sunday at halftime, Bills situation, you compare it to like some of the teams that are really, really miserable. It's nothing. And I think, again, let's start with the Vikings.
Yeah, I didn't think that it could get much worse than what we saw from
No.
JJ McCarthy, given what they invested in him from a draft pick standpoint, given what they let walk out of their building from a Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones to a lesser extent standpoint. I didn't think it could get much worse. And then I saw the Max Brosmer pick 6, and I said, there might be some air between here and rock bottom. We might not even be there yet.
It is shocking that there might be some rock bottom left. And Aaron Schatz ran the DVOA statistics and said, was that the worst game by a Vikings quarterback ever? And it was by far the worst game by a Vikings quarterback ever. But when he ran the top 10.
So far, it was the worst one so far.
The gift of yet. You have to give Brosmer and McCarthy the gift of yet. Worst one yet. Here's the thing. There were 2 2025 Vikings quarterback performances in the top 10, and one of them was not Week 12 McCarthy. The other was Week 2 McCarthy. So like Week 2 McCarthy, which we've kind of forgotten about, was like on the top 10 list of worst Vikings quarterbacks games ever. Brosmer was on the list. You can't tell me that 1 or 2 other McCarthy games aren't like 12th, 13th, and 15th on this list of all-time terrible performances, and it's shocking. And the other thing I saw is, you know how it is with the quarterback rating, where if you throw nothing but incompletions, I think it's 39.6.
That's like the benchmark. If every pass is incomplete, you spike the ball every play.
Yeah. You and I get the ball, spike the ball, run backwards so we don't get killed. We get 39.6. They've been below 39.6 2 straight weeks.
Yeah, suboptimal. It's not what you want. That's just not what you want. And I think that we touched on this last week in great detail. I think that the bloom is off the rose of Kevin O'Connell, quarterback whisperer, and obviously playing an undrafted rookie free agent after the quarterback bastion of the University of Minnesota. You can only hold so much of that against Kevin O'Connell. But
Right.
the amount of faith, the amount of bad faith that they put in JJ McCarthy,
Yep.
the amount of hubris that it took to look what Sam Darnold did for them a year ago, it came off the rails. And you talk to people who have been in the Jets building when Sam Darnold was there. You talk to people around the league about Sam Darnold. The floor might be a guy who turns over the football at the most inopportune times, that floor for them was still the first round of the playoffs. You're barely going to sniff 500 by season's end if you even get there after letting Darnold walk out of the building because you drafted J.J. McCarthy in the first round and figured, you know what? Forget what we saw, what we know. We're going to go with what we think we know and what we invested in instead.
That's it, what we think we know, in the hubris. And if you are the quarterback whisperer and you've gotten Sam Darnold and he's gotten to 13 wins, and it's like, with my development, I've gotten him to the point where he doesn't throw the crippling interception until the divisional playoff game. Don't you try to push that a little further? If you're that good, so if I can get him here, maybe I can get him there, or maybe Quessy and Flores can get the defense here, and we won't need him to do much in those games. And that's how the Seahawks are trying to manage right now against the Vikings. Oh, Darnold had a bad game against the Vikings. No one even noticed. No one even cared because it was a shutout the other end. You do things that way instead of sort of playing this game of saying, well, look how smart we're going to wait until we show you what we can do with this guy. He trips up. Well, look at the third stringer who's been standing at my side this whole time, and you throw him out there, and he's worse than Shedeur Sanders. He's worse than what other third stringers can we name who've been out in the field right now? He's worse than they are. He's as bad as anyone we've ever seen.
Yeah, Brosmer was so bad that when I wrote that game up for the column, the Sam Darnold revenge factor didn't even weigh on my mind, right? And he finished for 14 to 26, 128 yards, just okay against Brian Flores, who turned up the heat and blitzed him pretty relentlessly. You put Darnold on the other side with that receiving core, with those two running backs, with that offensive line, it's a completely you could almost flip the script on what the Vikings did, and I just look at it. And I watched that game in the late window. It's one of them that I was really focusing on. Justin Jefferson just looks like he's ready to demand a trade. It looks like you went from paying him $500 million to he can't get out of there quickly enough because you've let the quarterback situation rot on the vine. Just a complete waste of talent on a Sunday to Sunday standpoint. It now looks like a terrible investment if you don't have the quarterback to make it matter. And Mike, I touched on this in the column. It was almost as if they've tried to win while building. But if you don't get the quarterback right, where the quarterback is ascending with that talent and you're winning as you go, what's the sense of all that talent? You're cutting off your nose to spite your face because you're never going to be bad enough to pick that top quarterback at the top of the draft and going to be nowhere good enough for the talent to matter.
Right. It's like, and if we do this just right, we'll build this quarterback to the point where he's Sam Darnold. Well, we have Sam Darnold. No, but we want to build one until he's better than Sam Darnold, which might take 3 years or whatever to really get to that level unless we do everything perfect. You're right about Justin Jefferson, though, and he tried to be a good soldier really for a couple of years. For a couple of years, he's been trying to be okay about this and all. Right now, if this was A.J. Brown, he'd be reading the satanic verses on the sideline. That's where he would be. George Pickens would be in Vegas. He'd be flying to Vegas after the game. So, yeah, you're lucky Justin Jefferson is just being I might not run down that interception tackle. Now, so the Vikings fans have to be miserable because they've been sold a bill of sale. They were sold a bill of sale. I'm wondering, could you think of, and again, we're not talking about Eagles fans being pissed off and egging houses. Really, is there a more miserable fan base right now?
Well, I was going to say the Eagles, but we'll put them up on the shelf. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think that when you look at that game, also a game I had on in the late window against Buffalo, that stadium was empty with 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I'm talking there were 50 people still at Acrisure Stadium, and the ones that were there were pissed off. Similar, we talk about the Vikings and how they can't seem to get the quarterback situation right. I wrote it on Monday morning that this is just the familiar ending to the story on the Confluence. It's basically Confluence canon. We're going to take this elite defense, all this talent that we have, and we're going to try to drop in a veteran quarterback, see if it works. And it just hasn't. I mean, Justin Fields did not work out. Russell Wilson did not work out. Right. Aaron Rodgers was a fool's errand from the moment that they brought him into Pittsburgh. They could have just played Will Howard. They could have just traded up to draft a quarterback last year. They could have just decided, hey, you know what? We're going to scrap this thing. We're going to trade TJ Watt last offseason. We're going to get draft capital for 2026. We're going to take the top quarterback in 2026 and reset this thing. Instead, they're trying to keep going 500 with Mike Tomlin and continuing to regress and regress and regress while you're wasting TJ Watt, while you're wasting Cam Hayward, while you're wasting Joey Porter Jr. and all of these guys on defense. it just feels like that fan base is finally at the point where they might not be egging houses, but they might be picketing outside of Acrisure, which with pitchforks for Mike Tomlin's head on a pike.
Now, we shouldn't be doing this on Aaron Rodgers' birthday. Ian Rappaport and Diana Rossini are pulling the turkey out of the oven right now, getting ready to celebrate. Some of our old friends might be at that table, and I'm going to be polite and not mention that. But it's a very big insider holiday here in the NFL. So, and yet everything you say about Rodgers is correct. That defense is aging. So when you talk about Hayward and Watt, they might not quite be what they were a couple years back. You see that with their run defense. So they're wasting the final prime years of these guys. And let's not forget, all those veterans, they also went the J.J. McCarthy route with 1 year with a guy named Kenny Pickett,
Yes.
who they just decided if we keep saying he's a leader, he'll be a leader. So they've tried everything. I'll say this about Steelers fan misery. It's different because they go through this exact same thing every year. And I know some Steelers fans I'm proud of what we do. I'm proud of what we do. Go 9-8, 10-7, the resilience, the surprise victories. It's like, is proud the same as fun? like, you're proud, but are you enjoying it? And I don't think that, especially after a game like Sunday's, Steelers fans are enjoying it.
It's mediocrity defined, because it's one
Mhm.
thing if you can go 9-8 and 10-7, but you have a roster that you think is good enough that you get as many lottery tickets as you can, that one
Mhm.
year you're going to win the lottery, that one year you're going to be good enough to catch lightning in a bottle to win 2 playoff games, that you're going to
Yes.
catch lightning in a bottle to make a playoff run. But instead,
Right.
they're just winning enough games in a very mediocre division
Mhm.
to sneak their way in, but they're one and done, and they're not even good enough to do that this year.
Right. Then they're backing in. Like we're backing in with Mason Rudolph, like in one of those years. Or we're backing in and everyone knows Russ is done. This year, it might be backing in, but everyone can see Aaron Rodgers is absolutely finished. And it's turned into one of those happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers seasons that are just like all egomania and everyone trying to prop him up and prop his ego up, etc. And that has to be tiresome. Eagles fans are mad because that's what this season looks like it's going to be. This team isn't going to be good enough. They're going to stumble into the playoffs. They're going to lose to a Buccaneers-like opponent, if not the Buccaneers. The Steelers, that's January. That's what January always looks like.
And one more miserable fan base for you,
Yes.
because I think that they're angry, but I don't think that they're miserable enough, and that's the New York Giants, right?
Oh, okay.
Because I look at them, and you can feel good that you have Jackson Dart. You see some moments, you see some flashes, you see the moxie, but man, whether it was Brian Dable or last night Mike Kafka, nobody can seem to convince this kid not to be a kamikaze.
Yeah.
Nobody can seem to convince this kid that when you're running down the sideline, hey, it's okay to step out after an 8-yard gain. You don't need to get 9 yards if you're going to get decapitated.
Yeah.
If you can't feel the pressure coming, if you decide that you're going to fight for that yard in the first quarter and risk a concussion, some of those hits the Patriots laid on them last night, whether it was Jackson Dart in the pocket on the run, they were
Mhm.
some of the most brutal hits that I've ever seen. And then you have Dart throwing hospital balls to Theo Johnson. There were 2 or 3 hits where I thought he was going to be in an ambulance,
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
scraped off the field. And then your bench, you can't get Abdul Carter under control. You're benching him for an entire quarter because he's late for meetings. So where's the buy-in there?
Mhm.
Nothing's changed with Mike Kafka, where you thought that maybe it would with exercising Brian Dable's presence and leadership. But I think that this goes way higher. I think that it's Joe Shane's roster building philosophy. It's the flaws in the construction beyond the top of the depth chart at 2 or 3 positions. And let's be real, it's the culture that's been crafted by John Mara. The
Yeah.
Giants are the Arizona Cardinals with some history. That's what they are. They're the Arizona Cardinals with a good museum,
Yes.
because they can't figure out how to develop a quarterback long term. They can't build around him. They can't hire the right coach. There's no philosophical identity other than the fact that, hey, well, we practice at 1925 Giants Drive because we're one of the oldest franchises. We have 4 Lombardis in our hallway. Come take a look at those. They look really shiny and really nice, but there aren't going to be any new ones for a while because we can't get out of our own way.
I love it. That's exactly what they are. By the way, it seemed like the referees just went Darwin rules. It's like, hey, you're going to go head first. We're not going to put the flag out, which was inappropriate. And like I was like, what is going on with this? But yeah, and the problem is now you've got the coaching staff to the point. Well, of course, there's no leadership. Bowen's gone too. It's a skeleton crew, so you're going to send Kafka out there to be like, oh, I'm going to change the culture while I'm game planning and play calling and like minding what's going on the defense. It's a fool's errand. I guess the only reason why Giants fans aren't more angry is it's kind of like, well, the die is cast. What's done is done. The coach got fired, coordinator got fired, rookie quarterback's out there. That's all the cards you can play. That's where the team is.
I worry about Jackson Dart, like all joking aside
Yes.
about the Giants being the Cardinals with a museum. Like I worry that nobody is getting through to this kid because there's been 4 concussion evaluations, 5 after last night, the concussion that cost him 2 games, and he's
Yeah.
still taking these punishing hits. And we can talk all we want about the future and what they looked like that Thursday night with Cam Scatabo. We can talk about, the fact that he's played all of 12 snaps with Malik Neighbors, that there could be a future there. But I just watched Jackson Dart play, and my mind races to Tua Tagovailoa. My mind races to Kevin Cobb. My mind races
Yeah.
to these
Cobb.
promising quarterbacks that the concussions and the head injuries just derail the potential. And, for the kids' sake, for Giants fans' sake, for the organization's sake, somebody needs to get through to this kid.
Cobb's a good pull there because he really wrecked it with concussions. Although I don't think he was quite as reckless. The problem is I don't think you're going to coach those instincts out of him during the season. And, you're just kind of running walkthroughs and things this time of year. You're not going to kind of get him to change that instinctual thing. But that's a more miserable fan base, Vikings, Steelers. We have miserable fan bases of playoff teams here. And that's why I wanted to do this with you this week. Okay. So you put out the top, your power rankings.
Yes.
And they were shocking. I found them shocking, but I was going to stage an intervention, but I calmed down realizing that everyone who's doing power rankings is in the same boat. Even if you do DVOA, it spits out these, really, that's number 3? Like the Colts are still number 3. They spit out these things where you look at like, holy crap. So we're all looking at this and saying, like, what's going on? What's going on? The best teams are losing. These teams that we think of as Cinderella's never strikes midnight. So I want to do a choose your fighter with you.
Okay.
And the rules are, except maybe in 1 or 2 circumstances, I'm going to give you 2 teams. You can only pick one to sort of defend, to be your fighter. And we're going to start with choose a struggling NFC contender, Eagles or Lions.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me, but you look at the reality of both teams, and I think it comes down to 2 things: health and path.
Yes.
And you look at the Lions, they're banged up. The defense is starting to creep up on the amount of injuries they had a year ago. Now you have Amon-Ra St. Brown hurt. You're already without Sam Laporta, and it just feels like they're trying to knuckle drag their way back into the playoffs with the deck stacked against them. And the Eagles, on the other hand, the path is much different. The strength of schedule, the Lions are the 7th most difficult in the NFL. Their remaining opponents are a 5.75 winning percentage. Cowboys on Thursday, which I think is that's going to be a hugely telling game for both teams. Bears, Rams, and Steelers. Good luck there. Yeah. Eagles. They have the 3rd easiest path. And this is what I'm trying to tell Eagles fans to calm down. They might be a one and done, but the one and done is going to come at home because the remaining opponents have a 400 winning percentage. It's the skeleton crew of the Commanders twice, the Rams, and a half bye against, or Chargers rather, and the half bye against the Raiders. So they're going to get in. They're going to win the division. It's just a matter of, are they going to get the bye? I don't think they will. But if I'm looking at these 2 teams, I think the Eagles are a lock to get in.
Right.
I don't even know if the Lions are going to play their way back into the playoffs.
That's right. And that's pretty much all my talking points. I have different numbers because you use DVOA, but like Eagles have the 6th easiest path or something like that. And the Lions have the 6th hardest, something similar to that. And you're right. It's a matter of the health. You talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown. You talk about Laporta. Terry and Arnold is hurt in their secondary. You go all along their defense. You've got all these names that are out. Eagles are not nearly as banged up. And there's just that big difference between, you're in 3rd place right now. And you got to face the Rams and everybody. And, the Eagles, it will be a little tougher because it sounds like Jaden Daniels is back very soon. McLaurin is back. So the Commanders won't be a pushover. Still should be a beatable team. Let's say that's a split. Let's say that's the Raiders. That's sufficient. You're in the playoffs. You're in the playoffs. The Lions can't say that.
You're probably getting a hat and T-shirt. And one of the other things I did
Yeah,
in the column is I asked some executives, what's the biggest issue facing the teams that lost on Thanksgiving and Black Friday?
yeah.
And if I made you the general manager, how would you fix it? And a scout told me on the Eagles, I want to get your thoughts on this one. Their offense has no identity. What can you hang your hat on about the Eagles right now? It used to be being physical up front, but it's not anymore. With all those injuries, they've struggled. Also, losing Mekhi Becton in free agency hurt them a lot, with
Mhm.
emphasis, more than people realize or talk about at the time, unquote. Thoughts?
I love it. If you look at it right now, the Eagles' run game is 25th in the NFL. And Saquon is averaging 4 yards per carry. And he's he who should not be criticized here in Philly. All of that's suddenly changing now. People are like, well, maybe Saquon has something to do with it. If I'm trying to fix it, I mean, I don't. You fix that now by trying to run the ball now and get more opportunities and maybe run different plays, et cetera. You get out there in the off season, and there's always veteran MFR guards that you can get at medium prices that you can put in there. You can get somebody like that. Then maybe you grab another one of these guards. There's always a 310-pound moose that falls in the draft because they're guards. Get some people like that. I mean, the Eagles have other issues they'll probably be looking at. Tight end should be something they're talking about as they move forward. Goddard's a free agent. But no, that's it. It's an offense that has no identity because it's going 3-and-out. Not because the passing game is that terrible, because the stats say it's typical. It's because they're not. They've gone from 179 rushing yards a game to like 64.
Yeah, and we went into the deep dive on what's been different along the offensive line schematically during the
Yep.
podcast last week. But I think that, Howie Roseman is pretty much close to above reproach in terms of how he's built this roster,
Yeah.
getting to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, winning one, winning 2 Super Bowls in his tenure. But I think that, they're going to look back on letting Mekhi Becton walk as one of the bigger miscalculations because he played the best
Yeah.
football of his career with Jeff Stoutland, and they just haven't been able to replace him. And I
Right.
think that with everything that they do when they do it well, it's like what the scout talked about. It's what you said. It's running the ball. It's dominating along the line of scrimmage.
Mhm.
They're not winning up front anymore. They did not win in the trenches against the Bears on either
Yeah.
side of the ball, especially not along the offensive line. And when you get into December in bad weather, when you get into January in bad weather against playoff caliber front sevens, if your offensive line isn't firing on all cylinders, that's a quick way to have an exit plan.
That's it. That's it. And the Lions have the same problem because they have so many guys banged up. They tried to get Frank Ragnow back in, and he failed an MRI. Maybe the Eagles should bring him in and give him an MRI just to see if we get different results.
Send him to
But
a different machine. Send him
send him to a
to
different
Jefferson
machine.
or UPenn.
Don't send Kelsey in because he's been pounding Michelob Ultras for the last year and a half, so that's not going to happen. All right, so we have struggling NFC contenders.
Yeah.
Now, choose struggling AFC contenders, Chiefs or Ravens. Choose your fighter.
Man, this was the toughest one on the list for me because I
Mhm.
look at the injuries, I look at the path. I gotta still say it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, because
Mhm.
I think that we talked about it last week. The one game that they could afford to lose was on Thanksgiving in
Yep.
Dallas because it wasn't an AFC game. Slightly easier schedule than the Ravens have. They just need to find consistency. They just need to find a consistency in the running game. They need to find a way to consistently pressure the quarterback, which they were able to do really effectively against Daniel Jones
Yep.
in the second half, in the fourth quarter, in overtime. That front seven won the game for them. Dropped off a cliff after
Mhm.
halftime against the Cowboys last week. I
Yeah.
still think that the Chiefs have an edge here because of who they are. Maybe it's just mystique. Maybe I'm overvaluing them, but I still go Kansas City over Baltimore in that race. How about you?
According to DVOA, they have the path because there's some easier games, makeable games. That said, it's a wild card path. They've kind of put too many obstacles between themselves and the Broncos to win the division. They're looking at things like, oh, we have a tiebreaker against the Colts and some other stuff like that. We talk about path. By the way, I'm distracted for a moment because the Red Cross is calling me to donate blood on this phone. So let me reset. We talk about path, it's the Ravens. It's a very winnable division, and they have a couple of games against the Steelers, who we just talked about. Okay, it's the Steelers team that we think is fading fast. Now, I'm worried about. By the way, I just tried to insert that phone. There we
You're
go. Okay,
good.
we're good.
You're good. Yeah.
All right. We talk about a Steelers team we think is fading. It's 2-game series against them. I know Lamar Jackson is pretty injured. He's playing through injuries. That was a game against the Bengals. They would have been cruising at halftime if not for fumble touchback, offensive pass interference, touchdown nullified, some of these other fluky plays. I still think the Ravens are the Ravens, and right now they have more margin for error than the Chiefs have.
From an AFC front office executive, he basically pointed to injuries taking a toll, the pass rush not getting home, how he would fix them if he were Baltimore's general manager. Quote, if they could only protect the football better, it would help a lot because the competition on the schedule the rest of the way isn't that good. It's a favorable finish. I think they will and they should emphasize the running game, ball security, and perhaps trying to pressure more over the final 5 games. I think that's the move. I think it's, especially if Lamar Jackson isn't 100%, you lean on Derrick Henry. You hope that he's the closer and the force multiplier that he was a year ago. And you hope that that's good enough to get you through a navigable path to survive what could be an AFC North Championship game against the Bengals the second time you see them. But I think Derrick Henry being the focal point has to be the philosophy for them the rest of the way.
I think you're right. And maybe a Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell combination where you bring a little bit of Sonic in with the knuckles, because I like that. Ball security, take care of the football, play good defense, beat the Steelers, who don't do very many things particularly well anymore. See it. And ball security should be manageable because, again, one of the fumbles was likely like kind of diving. A couple of them where Lamar Jackson, again, playing banged up or whatever, kind of being discombobulated with the ball. It's not like he's getting strip sacked. He's kind of like being a little too reckless. Maybe if he's a little healthier, he avoids that. Might have been a weather thing, but weather things will continue in Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That does seem like the path to victory. One other thing about the Chiefs, we got to check the Chiefs offensive line injury report as the days move on. We've got Josh Simmons on the injury report. They had Jawan Taylor on the injury report. We'll know more maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow afternoon. But if they go up against the Texans with both their tackles hurt, you saw the Bills game a couple of weeks ago against the Texans, right?
Look out.
Right.
Yeah, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter living in the backfield, just harassing Josh Allen all night long. The Chiefs aren't built to withstand that. Even with a healthy Jawan Taylor, that is a matchup nightmare for Kansas City.
No, that looks like the Eagles Super Bowl. It looks like the Buccaneers Super Bowl. And it's like, oh, we can't protect Mahomes. He's got to do everything using magic. That's not going to be enough. We're going to lose this game. And if they lose to the Texans, then we really have to be like, oh, it's going to be mystique and magic and other teams losing and all this other stuff for them to get in. Let's do another one here. This is going to be controversial because I was teeing you up on this. Soft schedule, smushy schedule. Absurd. Oh, you're rolling your eyes at this. You're rolling your eyes at this as if you didn't watch the Patriots last night. You didn't watch Younghoe Koo.
Oh, my God.
Go up to the football for a routine field goal that would have made it 17-10 and act like he stepped on a roller skate going down a flight of steps.
Dino Luck on Threads, one of my favorite follows on Threads, a buddy of mine, he had a great line about the Kim miss. He said that he was trying to kick the entire stadium, but he forgot.
It's like that old Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was trying to kick a hole in the sky. I've never seen an athlete who I've seen kick 55-yard field goals routinely a few years ago look that uncoordinated. Garo Yepremian would never. So you're rolling your eyes at the soft schedule, and you watched that idiocy last night. Anyway, you can only choose your number 1 and 2 teams. Your number 1 and 2 teams in the Lombardo Power Rankings. Patriots or Bears, choose your fighter unless you want to advocate right now for a Patriots-Bears Super Bowl.
I can't go that far. I mean, they're 1 and 2 in the power rankings, but I can't go that far to say that both of those teams are going to survive their respective gauntlets and go to the Super Bowl. I have to go with the Bears here for 2025. Long term, I think the Patriots are on the cusp of doing something really special again because they're so young. There's so much explosiveness. Drake May's probably going to win the MVP. But there's something about that Bears team. There's something about watching that team completely embody the Ben Johnson philosophy. There's something about 12 weeks in, I'm watching their running game, and it only took 12 weeks for them to become what the Detroit Lions were with Ben Johnson there. It's one thing to say, oh, he's the coordinator. Of course they're going to look that way. Well, it's DeAndre Swift and a seventh round rookie Kyle Monangai, right? So
Mhm,
the fact that it happened this quickly is telling. The fact
mhm.
that they're leading the league in takeaways while not turning the football over. The fact that they're winning along both lines of scrimmage with a veteran offensive line, a quarterback who's not turning the ball over. I love the Bears. I don't know that they're going to hold on to the number one seed. But I think that their floor right now is winning at least one playoff game and maybe much more than that this year.
I'll say this about the Bears as a big Bear skeptic as I've been. The stats bear it out. Their last two victories were their best two victories. The Eagles game, and it's slipping my mind who they beat before the Eagles, but it was by DVOA, one of their more convincing wins. And there is reason to believe that they are legitimately getting better, starting with the fact that they got Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Johnson out, who was out for weeks. He was back against the Eagles. Kyler Gordon, who's a really good slot corner, was back against the Eagles. So they are getting guys healthier. Are you looking up who did I forget?
I want to know. It wasn't that. It's the fact that they had three of their starting linebackers out against the
Yeah,
Eagles, and they
yeah,
still held the Eagles to just 87 rushing yards. That you
correct.
can
But
do
does
that
go
and
back to
scheme it up the way that Dennis Allen is. I mean, we can talk about the Eagles' issues in the running game all we want.
Mhm.
It's still Saquon Barkley with three backup linebackers out there. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Well, that's another thing. And if we're going to choose the Bears, they'll get a linebacker or two back.
Yeah.
I know Sewell. I don't know how injured he is. I don't know how injured Edwards is, et cetera. They've gotten guys back in the secondary, so that's helping along the way. They've made changes to their running system where they're getting the rookie more touches. All of that's good. Caleb Williams exists. That's the most I'm going to say about him at this point. I'm going to also choose the Bears, and one reason why is because, first of all, the Patriots schedule remains the softest thing I've ever seen in history. The wild card situation in the AFC is going to be an absolute shark tank because the Bills will be in it. I was going to say either the Ravens or Chiefs are probably going to wind up in there some way, somehow. And you're going to wind up with a team like the Texans, who have the best defense in the world. So you have all of these teams are going to come in there and they're going to go into Foxborough and they're going to do this goofy stuff that they're doing. And when are you going to miss a field goal by a mile? When are you going to do the dumb stuff? When are you going to allow 90-yard punt return and it won't happen and the Patriots lose? The Bears are going to be in this situation where you might have vulnerable Eagles. You might have vulnerable, the Buccaneers are always hanging around looking to get beaten in the first round. These are the opportunities that a team that's running the ball and getting guys back healthy on defense can get into that tournament, get a win or so, build the culture. So I'm going to have to pick the Bears here too.
And for as much explosiveness as the Patriots have, and I love their big playability with Keyshawn
Mm-hmm.
Boot and Stephon Diggs, and Drake May is doing some great things in the vertical passing game. There's something about the Bears brand of football that just travels. You
You
punch
like it,
teams in the
right?
mouth,
Mm-hmm.
running the ball. You look at the rookie tight end Colston Loveland starting to
Mm-hmm.
ascend, as a security blanket for Caleb Williams. If
Mm-hmm.
Williams morphs into what we saw from Matthew Stafford in Carolina, then all bets are off, and who knows what they're going to be. But I don't know that that's what's going to happen to Caleb Williams if he continues to just incrementally go along this pace that he's in with Ben
Mm-hmm.
Johnson. I just love what they're doing. I think that they're capable of winning at least one of these games against the Packers. And if you
Right.
do that, you're in the driver's seat for the division. And you're in the conversation for the number one seed. So I like Chicago here, but I do think the future might overall be brighter because of the talent level in New England.
Both teams, it's exciting to see what they're going to do moving forward from this year. And that's what you ask for from a first-year coach. I guess that's what you ask for from a second-year quarterback as well.
Yep.
All right. We got through that one without a fight. Interesting. Okay. Maybe this one will set me off. Okay. You can only pick one doofusy team to make a late run for it from nowhere. Your choices are Bengals, Cowboys, or throwing it out there, Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins have no chance.
Okay.
I got to get something here. All right, so
Okay.
you know
Oh
me.
no, what's happening? He's got a Dolphins helmet or some
It's
crazy
the
crap. Is it a crab?
no, it's the Joe Burrow rookie card. It's the Joe Burrow rookie card, and
It's
and and
beautiful.
Burrow is back.
Mm-hmm.
PSA 9, by the way, so almost perfectly graded there. Burrow is back. He changes everything for them. I just have this feeling that when you look at them, that they're going to mess around and win that division. because I'm
Okay.
not a believer in the Ravens with their injuries. I look at the Bengals. They have. I have to apologize to Cincinnati. I have to apologize to Joe Burrow because
Yeah.
I went on a couple of tirades the last couple of weeks saying, "Why would you play Burrow? You're out of it. You're 3-8 or whatever you were. Just
Mhm.
shut it down. You're risking him." Well, if you can do
That-
that in Baltimore and you do it again and you look at the schedule the rest of the way, and it is, I can't even find them on my chart here of easiest
Six.
schedules.
Okay, go ahead. I don't have that handy, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't have. I'm trying to find. Okay, so their toughest game is Sunday, which might well be my circular game against the Buffalo Bills. Then you
Yeah.
have a lot of dreck. You have the Cardinals, not a serious franchise. The Shador Sanders led Cleveland Browns. The Miami Dolphins, who you want to talk about Fugazi frauds to the hilt. And you have the Ravens again. You have the fifth easiest schedule in the NFL the rest of the way
Mhm.
with Joe Burrow changing everything. I think they not only get in, I think they win the AFC North.
Oh my God. But to be fair, that's the only way they get in. So I got the
Yeah.
numbers in front. These are DVOA fueled from FTN Fantasy. Bengals have a 6.6% chance of making the playoffs. 6.5% of that chance is winning the division. They don't have a wild card option because the best they
No.
could do is go 9-8, and all their tiebreakers are FUBAR as it is. So it's got to be they got to beat the Ravens in that final game. They almost have to run the table, although there's 8-9-8, 8-9-8, whatever scenarios along the way. They've got to do it. So if I've got to pick one, that's the one I pick because there's that easy schedule and that divisional opportunity. That divisional opportunity does not exist really for the Cowboys unless you're going to be an absolute Eagles fatalist. And their tiebreakers against teams like the Bears and the Panthers are really bad. So they've got to, they have a 17% chance, but the avenue's not really as clear. I did the same thing, by the way. I had to put a mea culpa out there where it's like you sit there and say, why are they playing Joe Burrow? Why are they playing Joe Burrow? Because people pay tickets to go see the damn games.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not week 17 where it's like, well, it's over and you've already put the StubHub the ticket or whatever. Get out there and try to win. Get out there and livelihoods, legacies are at stake. And seeing Burrow again, it's like, oh yeah, this is fun football. I like this.
And that was his first time back. It was his first
Right.
game back. Who
And,
knows if he's even 100%? You talk about the
and no chase.
chances.
And no chase.
You're right, and no Chase, and you get
Right.
Jamar Chase back against the Bills. You get Jamar Chase back in Cincinnati next week against the Ravens. Of the four AFC division leaders, the Ravens have the lowest odds, according to NFL media, of
Oh, yeah.
making the postseason at just 69%. So
Right.
you beat Buffalo, beat the Ravens in Cincinnati. Those odds could flip on a dime, and it could get real ugly for the Ravens real quickly if they don't take care of business the next 2 weeks.
Right. And of course, the Steelers are also in it because you've got 6-6, 6-6, and then you got 4-8. And that's the only reason why we can talk about this team at 4-8 because they could go 9-8. So again, we're talking about so you're saying there's a chances, but I can see it with the Bengals. Nobody can picture the Cowboys playing perfect down the stretch. Starting with Lions with their back to the wall on Thursday night. It's like everything's going to be chaos, and these are the Cowboys, and at some point they're going to be too full of themselves, and hilarity is going to ensue. The Bengals, you can at least see them making that run.
Yep, and the Cowboys didn't do themselves any favors from a tiebreaker standpoint either. So they're going to
Right.
have their backs against the wall in a lot of ways. There's still a wild card chance, but earlier this year, you can't cough up a game in conference against the Arizona Cardinals, right?
Oh God, yeah.
You can't go down to Carolina and be the launch pad of the Panthers season and Rico Dowdle's career. You tripped up, against the Bears in Chicago, and you weren't even competitive, and you were already you only have a split with the Eagles.
Right.
So you look at the remaining schedule. The Lions are the toughest game left, but you still have conference games against the Vikings, against the Commanders, and against the Giants.
Right.
So the margin for error just isn't there based on the losses in the games that they happen to lose.
Right. And the Jaden Daniels return is going to impact both the Eagles and the Cowboys down the stretch, where the Commanders could be that spoiler. Okay. So again, those are slim odds. Now, in honor, since we mentioned the Panthers here, and that means we're talking tangentially about the Rams, who still look pretty awesome. Team most likely to do something stupid when it matters most, your choices are the Bills or the Rams.
Sometimes you just are what you are, right? I mean,
All right.
Penn State season ticket holder here. You know, you lose.
Okay.
Sometimes you just can't beat Ohio State. Sometimes you
Mhm.
just can't beat Michigan. You just can't beat Oregon, and then it snowballs from there, right? Sometimes you kind of
Right.
are what you are.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills in January, there's just going to be a moment where, like, it becomes who you are. It becomes etched
Right.
in the DNA. Whereas I still think, even though the Rams did something extremely stupid in Carolina in the
Mhm.
rain, I
Right.
can kind of like, I can write that off as, okay, traveling cross country,
Yep.
miserable weather, big win the previous week. You know, hungry Panthers team needs the game to keep pace in their own division. I can write that off. There
Yeah.
have been so many postseason collapses in Buffalo, man, that it just feels like if it's not going to be now, then when?
Right. And Eagles fans who are frustrated who are listening, go watch how the Bills have been playing. And again, so you get don't look at like the fourth quarter of last week after you knock the other quarterback out, because the Eagles do that. They knock the other quarterback out and then they get the win. Look at it overall, and you're like, my God, these are Eagles 2.0, except that in Philly there was a parade. For the Rams, all the reasons you said. You go cross country, it's bad weather, you're on the road, you throw a pick six, you give up two fourth down, like 50-yard touchdowns. So it's like, we've got them beat. No, it's a touchdown. Of course you're going to lose under those situations. The post-game win expectancy, the analytics said the Rams outplayed the Panthers in that game, but you give up like 21 points on randomness, and that's going to happen. So I would say the Bills are the most likely team to lose, because when they do something dumb, it'll be something dumb. They'll knock themselves out of the playoffs by mistake. They'll get swept on some weird play by the Patriots and just put themselves in a horrible playoff position, or they'll be out there. It'll be neck and neck, like, oh, we finally got it. We're facing the Ravens and in Baltimore or something like that, and they'll miss 3 field goals. The Rams might lose in the playoffs, but they'll just lose. It'll be neck and neck down the stretch, and it's like, oh, you lost by a field goal because the other team made a play. It won't be this like gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, let's make a movie about a disaster, which is usually what the Bills do.
For sure. And I just look at the Rams. I think they're built to last because of that defense. And I think
Mhm.
that, you know, Stafford, you can have a game like that and still recover. Everybody has bad games.
Yeah, and he's been
But
doing it.
the Bills, it just seems like there's a built-in ceiling to what they are. And they're fortunate they were playing the Steelers on Sunday, because they rushed for something like 30 yards in the first half, I think it was, or something
Yep.
like completely ridiculous. And just couldn't get going on offense, and they flicked a switch in the second half, and they were off to the races. I don't know that that switch is going to work in a postseason game, you know, in Foxborough. I don't know that it's going to work in a playoff game against the Ravens if the Ravens get in. It just seems like something is broken with that franchise, that sometimes the identity seeps into when we get in these big spots. We're not going to get it done.
They duct taped Joe Brady's mouth shut in the second half, and they got a pick six or a strip six, however, whatever that officially was, and then they got an interception. And whether it was McDermott or just Josh Allen went out there like, let's just hand off, and that's all
Let
they
James
needed to
Cook.
do. Let's let Cook do it. I'll do it myself sometimes, and let's not run that same short passing concept 45 times a game that Brady likes so much that everyone else has figured out. All right. I guess we're in agreement there, but let's go to the flip side. And again, we're going cross conference. Choose your favorite defensive grunge puppies. Okay. So these are teams where the defense is playing well. We could have thrown another one in, but they're in another category. And when the offense is on, you get a headache. Choose your grunge puppy, Packers or Broncos.
It's a tough week to say this, but I'm going to go the Broncos,
Oh, wow.
and only because I trust their offensive skill players more than I do
Really?
the Packers receiving core. I
Really?
trust Courtland Sutton, Pat Bryant, and Evan Ingram more than I do tight end X, Dontavian Wicks, and Christian Watson. Even though Watson, you know,
This
won
is
that
playing
game
well.
for them late on the
Yeah.
fourth down conversion, but the fact that even under the worst circumstances, the Broncos still made the big play on defense on the 2-point conversion to lock it down, it
Mhm.
just feels like that defense is on a mission to punish people. You talk about their brand of defense traveling. I think it does everywhere except for against Washington in a fluky game against a backup quarterback. I don't know. So something about that Denver team, I'm bought in on them, and I think that the talent on defense, with I think more upside talent on offense gives them the nod here in this category.
I'm surprised you could name 3 offensive skill position players for the Broncos, let alone say you trusted them. Did I hear you say you trust Evan Ingram?
More than well, who's the tight end of the week
Uh,
in Green Bay? Is it Luke
okay.
Musgrave still, or they throw him off the plane?
They threw him off the plane, but what if I told you injury reports? Jaden Reed is close to being back, and Matthew Golden is close to being back.
Changes things a little bit, but Matthew Golden has a little bit of Xavier Worthy rookie season in him that, like, he's really, really fast. He's going to get
Yeah,
down there, and Jordan Love's going to overthrow him by half a yard, right?
yeah,
Like, you're still trying to get on that same page. You're telling me next year Matthew Golden is going to be out there after a year of chemistry? That changes things. But last year, I
right.
thought Xavier Worthy was going to be the difference maker, and him and Mahomes are always just like half a hair off from a timing and
Yeah,
chemistry standpoint. I
right.
get that same vibe with Love and Golden this year.
I get that vibe with Bo Nix and everybody. I have numbers with Nix and Franklin. I don't have them up on deep passes, but it's something like 4 of 25, and those are guys who played college together.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to diss the Broncos. Obviously, defense is really good, and they're kind of happy with that weird identity they've got on offense. You know, that's the way Sean Payton likes it these days, I guess. And we haven't seen them do anything stupid, and we've seen the Packers do a couple of things really stupid over the course of the season.
They did something pretty damn stupid on Sunday night playing down to the Commander. So, I mean, let's be real about this. And they
But
still
Broncos,
survived.
yeah, but that, I mean, part of that was, I guess, it was stupid, but it was okay. But they didn't come up with the loss. We've seen the Packers stupefy themselves into losses against the Browns. Yeah, right.
Nobody loves playing down to their competition more than the Packers do.
I'm going to, right. That's true. They do play down. They play down to the Bills do, by the way, too. They play down to the competition. I'm going to take the Packers. I look at the AFC like wild card Shark Tank. You're going to go out there and you're going to try and like win by 3 points on like checkdowns for a gain of a yard. And it's just not going to work. Whereas I think the Packers have room to grow. I think on their injury report, they are getting guys back. I know Wyatt's hurt. That's a big loss in their defensive line there. But if I have to pick one of these grunge puppies, I'm going with the Packers.
And I wouldn't begrudge that. I mean, I think that based on what we saw against the Lions, throw Micah Parsons in the MVP conversation, because you look at the sack that he had deep in the red zone, stopping a drive there. You look at the sack that he had, I believe it was either third or fourth down later on a last, Hail Mary comeback attempt by the Lions. Big plays in timely moments. The defense is stepping up. I won't begrudge you taking the Packers. I just think that the ceiling is a little bit higher for the Broncos, the way they're playing overall right now.
I think the best thing the Broncos can do is try. Looks like they're going to get a home playoff game. If they find themselves getting home field advantage and it goes through Mile High, now you're talking about winning with defense and grunge. But the same could be said of Lambeau. And that's a big deal, by the way, because you want Stafford out there in bad weather.
Yes.
You want Stafford out there in bad weather, and you can get that if you can get them, force them to come to Lambeau. And, of course, it's a different thing. I could have put the Seahawks on this list, too. I might take the Seahawks over both of them, despite Darnold fears, because they do all these things to scaffold things around Darnold so well that I can kind of believe in it.
And they have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's like the erasure of adversity for Sam Darnold. You might have one less turnover because Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to make a circus catch. Even if you have the awful pick six, look at that defense. They're going to sack a dude 3 times and intercept him 3 times and force 2 fumbles because they're just always around the football. And DeMarcus Lawrence is playing like a man on a mission right now. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think that if we were including the Seahawks in the grunge puppies, let's go to the city of grunge and take Seattle.
Yes, exactly. Why wouldn't we put Seattle in the grunge puppies? I don't know. It was 7 a.m. when I wrote this. Forgive me, everyone. Okay, last one. We must choose one NFC or AFC South team to actually give a shit about.
Houston Texans. Texans. They are going to win that division. And they just completely decimated the Colts. They made the Colts look like we thought the Colts were going to look when Daniel Jones was named the starting quarterback, albeit he's hurt with the fractured fibula. We don't know how severely. Played through it. Gutty effort by him. Not good enough against that defense. Swarms to the football. Creates takeaways. C.J. Stroud was a little bit better than okay in his first game back, but he's going to get better the further he gets away from the injury. That defense is the best defense in football right now for good reason. And if they win that division, Look out for Houston, baby, because I think that they could shock some people. So I really think the Texans could be for real.
And the thing about, I'm going to go with the Texans as well. Stroud played very badly in the first quarter and then started to come around where it looked like he just needed to get out there for a little bit and throw some passes and make a few mistakes. From a playmaker standpoint, the rookie Higgins has come up. He started to really make an impact. So you don't see as much Christian Kirk. They're putting Kirk in the slot.
Another
Nico is
kid I
back.
loved in Mobile. He was a lot of fun to watch in Mobile.
Yeah, he's turned into this like tough, oh, you need 8 yards, I'll get you 8 yards on 3rd and 7. He's kind of turning into that guy, which is what they need. Nico can then be a playmaker. Kirk can run around the slot and do goofy stuff. Offensive line's still a mess, whatever. They can do that. You're right. They win a division. Every team that goes in there, we saw what they did to the Bills. We'll see. We'll know more, on Sunday. We'll see what they can do where they can drag these opponents down to their level. And if they can, a team with a great, we covered the Giants when they were great. A team with a great pass rush, the pass rush is an equalizer.
Right, for sure. And they drag you down into the mud and they
Yeah.
strangle you while you're down there. They're holding opponents to 16.5 points per game.
Yeah.
16.5 points per game in the modern NFL where offense is key. It just seems like the injuries on offense and to Stroud kind of torpedoed them early.
Yeah.
But they have a winning formula and they're leaning into an identity. And you look at the path, they can basically drive the nail into the Chiefs' coffin on
Yes.
Sunday night if they win in Arrowhead. They can, end all this silly conversation about are the Chiefs able to make a run. You got Arizona, you got the Raiders who quit 3 weeks ago, you got the Chargers, and you got the Colts again. That game against the Colts might be for hats and t-shirts and a
Yeah.
whole playoff game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is Chiefs Texans your circlet?
It is
No.
not. Is it your circlet?
You said it earlier. Was it Bears Packers or was it?
It's the Joe
Uh,
Burrows, the Joe Burrows against the
Joe Burrow Bills.
Bills, because I need
Yeah.
to know how seriously to pay attention to Cincinnati the rest of the way. I need to know whether or not the Bills have been able to develop a closer mentality and win a de facto playoff game, which this kind of feels like certainly for
Mhm.
Cincinnati, maybe for Buffalo if they want to be anything more than a wild card team and
Right.
maybe to solidify their chances as a wild card team. So yeah, I'm all in circling Bills Bengals.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Burrow versus Allen. That sounds like a
No.
lot of fun. So many big ones. I'm looking across here. And I'm going to go with Steelers Ravens for the obvious reason that we have to get some kind of clarity here. And we're either going to discover that the Ravens can overcome the fact that Jackson's hurt and they're struggling to take care of the ball, or we're going to see the further collapse of the Steelers. I think we're going to see Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers, happy birthday, Aaron, is signaling through all of his insiders, his minions who are celebrating today, opening up their stockings and getting exclusive interviews with Aaron Rodgers. I think he's signaling that he wants to play next week, that he wants to prove that he's the guy. Probably the best choice because Mason Rudolph looks like garbage.
Well, a little more warmed over garbage than Aaron Rodgers looks like right now. I mean, the hit that Joey Bosa put on him, I thought he put him right into retirement with
I thought
between
so
the
too.
wrist injury and the nose being busted up. Happy birthday, Aaron! And I can see that you did this basically as an Aaron Rodgers birthday present because you have Bears Packers sitting there, you have Chiefs Texans sitting there, Vikings Commanders could be a little bit of fun. Oh, Cowboys Lions is a big game too. You had a lot of options, and you decided that you wanted to celebrate Aaron's day, celebrate 42.
Aaron, we love you. We respect you. Please give us an exclusive interview. Please give us a little bit of access. We're
Come on the
desperate.
pod.
We
Come on the
need it.
pod.
Come on
Come
the
on the
pod,
pod.
Aaron. I know you have to go through a lot of people who are kneeling before you, supplicants looking for this, but consider me. I've written several nice things about you in the past 15 years and many terrible things, but I've changed. I've changed.
What's coming up on the Two Deep Zone?
There might be a parody of fawning Aaron Rodgers access journalism. There might be. We'll see what happens over the next 2 hours. But we have an Eagles down the stretch where we talk for real about some of the Eagles' problems and some of the mentality here in Philadelphia.
Nice. I love it.
What do you got coming up?
Reached out to a handful of Hall of Fame voters, about a half dozen of our friends, colleagues, people who cast their ballots, weighing their thoughts on how they view this race, how they view the award in general, because we view it as it's going to be a QB award. But in a year like this, where you have so many position players making real impacts, does it change things? So, kind
M-
of how they're viewing it, that'll be up hopefully Thursday, maybe next week.
MVP voters, not Hall of Fame voters.
MVP voters, correct.
I was like, oh, if you call the Hall of Fame voters, I won't write that this year. You can write
No,
it, and
just
I'll link
MVP.
to it.
There you go.
I mean, I love talking to the guys and everything like that, but sometimes they're like, oh God, Tanner's calling again, asking about this. So MVP voters, so you're going to get that, and when's that posting?
I'm hoping by Thursday. It might be pushed to next Tuesday. Still waiting to hear back from a couple people that I really want to have in there to have it buttoned up. Also, it's probably going to be later this week. We're going to kick off the what teams need to do this offseason to turn things around, the three moves they must make. We ran into a little bit of a wall last year where we got to about team 20 before draft weekend. We learned our lesson. We start early at between the hash marks.
This perfect. Yeah, you start with Jets or Browns or somebody now. And then
if you're eliminated from the playoffs,
yeah,
we can start with you.
And you can link to it again in January. Yeah, I mean, so you don't have to try and write them all that. Good strategy. I approve. Good veteran maneuver.
He's Mike Tanier. Make sure you subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. It is one of the best-selling Substack publications out there. You get all of the firebrand storytelling that Mike Tanier has to offer, all of the analytics deep dives, all of the in-depth analysis. Follow Mike on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier. You can subscribe to Between the Hash Marks on Substack. You can follow me on Threads at Matt Lombardo NFL. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and leave us those 5-star review and ratings. And if you want to check us out on YouTube, you can do that as well at Matt Lombardo 975. Had about 40 people in the room today. Really enjoyed hanging out with everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. Mike, this was a ton of fun. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Happy birthday again, Aaron Rodgers.